sunny morning, and we're just starting the Lapworth flight proper. So there's a peculiarity of these, and that is the pans are very, very short. So they have these side pans to increase the amount of water. As you can see, the next lock is very, very close, and it's got another side pound. And there's, to my surprise, a couple of volunteers here to give me a hand, which is nice. So we'll get on now, and I'll probably talk again at the bottom. We're going down now. You see, the pound is so short, there wouldn't be enough water in there to fill and empty a lock. So they've cut the pound out to the side on this flight, and it's an interesting feature, and it helps if you're single-handed because there's less walking from one lock to the next. But you can't put a boat into there because most of those side pounds are very shallow. And down we go. The volunteers have said they'll help me down this flight, so that's great. That'll help me get onto the Hatton 21 flight today. So we're at the bottom of the flight now, because there's lock 36 on the right there, which takes us out onto stays on the Stratford and on-Avon Canal going to Stratford, but I'm going to take the left here where a kind volunteer has just opened the gate for me, and this will take me down onto the linking channel onto the Grand Union. And thanks to these three volunteers, I've got down here much quicker than I expected. It's a fantastic help. Unexpectedly early, I'm just turning on to the Grand Union Canal. Oops. Just in case. The signpost there says to the left Birmingham, to the right Warwick. So we are turning right. And it's a lovely day again. And no boats moving, so that's useful. So now I've got about 4.5 miles to go to the top of the Hatton 21 flight. And I'm hoping I can get at least part of the way down there today, if not all the way down. There may be volunteers there to give me a hand, and that would help. So that's the Kingswood Junction that we've just left. And now on to the main Grand Union. Just go slowly past this moored boat. Railway line there just through the trees. As always, when the railways were built, they very, very often followed the canals, so it's very common experience to be running alongside a railway line. Right, I'm going to open up the throttle and get moving. Well, this is another lovely day for cruising. Sunshine and the autumn colours. So we're just heading down towards Hatton now, and I'd forgotten just how nice it is here. Once again, we're quite a bit above the level of the fields down there, and we're on an embankment because you can see through the trees that there's quite a drop down on that side too. If you can see through the trees, you can see the fields down below. It's a very nice afternoon for cruising. Well, this is Shrewley Tunnel in front of us. It's not very long, about 430 yards. The interesting thing about this is you can see the towpath on the right there. It goes up the slope and has its own tunnel. There you go. So the horses can go through there instead of going over the hill. You can also see there's a boat coming towards us, although I think this is wide enough for passing. although I have slowed down so that we may pass close to the entrance at least. I've never been in the towpath tunnel. It'd be quite interesting to walk through at one point just to see what it's like. But I've seen lots of dog walkers along the towpath, so it must be passable. Right, let's take care of this boat. Well, here we are at Hatton Top Lock. So I'm just going to pull in here and get rid of some rubbish. I won't stop for water because I want to try and get down these locks if I can. And the top one is ready for me. That's wonderful. It's full of, I can see it's full of water. We zoom in a bit. There you can see it's already full. That'll save time. So let's get on. Well, we're into the Hatton flight now. The very kind volunteers on the Lapworth flight told me that there were volunteers on duty here as well today. But unfortunately I appear to be too late because there's no sign of them now. And there's no sign of any other boats going up or down the flight. So it's very similar to my last trip through these locks, except that it's not raining, at least not yet. So I'm at the 4th lock. On this flight we have these tall pillars with hydraulic mechanisms in them to open and close the paddles, and as you open the paddle this rod comes out to show you that it's open. So this is lock 42, the top of the flight is 46, so this is the 5th lock, and the boat is actually under the bridge in the 4th lock, which I've set to empty. Tied the boat up securely, so with enough rope so that it won't be dangling when the lock empties. So I should be able to walk the boat out, close the gate behind me, and then go straight into that lock, but only if I open the gate. So let's walk back again. So the reason I started filming here is because you can see that the flight continues on down the hill. The first 11, I think it is, locks are all close together like this, so I can walk from one to the other to prepare the next one to save time. But then when we get down, it starts, the gaps start opening out quite a bit, which means a bit of walking if I want to do preset locks. On the other hand, it does mean that if I get fed up I can just knock some spikes in and stay where I am overnight. Ideally I'd like to get through this flight and get round to the what they call the Cape visitor mooring, because it's close to the Cape of Good Hope pub. I've heard good things about the food in that pub, and that would be nice because I'm running a little bit low on supplies on the boat. Right, onwards. It's Tuesday morning and I got off to an earlier start, about 9:30, and I've got 12 locks to get through today and a few miles to get into Leamington Spa. I got halfway down the flight. I did 11 of the 21 locks in the Hatton flight and ran out of daylight, so I stopped in a pound between 2 locks, which was fine. And this morning there are lots of volunteers around and they're very graciously helping me down, so this is going to speed things up tremendously. Let's have a look at where we are. Low sun again, of course. It's a lovely day. As you can see, we're dropping down. The bridge there, its official title is Ugly Bridge. I don't know what you think of that. It's not the prettiest I've seen, but I think I've probably seen worse. But we're just below, this is lock 31, so the bottom lock of this flight is 26, so we've got a little way to go yet. And then 2 locks known as the Cape locks, because we pass the Cape of Good Hope pub, and then a straight cruise through Warwick and into Leamington Spa. Well, we're down to lock 30 now. Another quick rundown. It's an I find interesting point with a lot of the locks on the Grand Union. They have this structure where you can see there's another entrance there, which is now all covered over with concrete slabs, and goes down to there. And there was a plan at some point in the life of the canal to build single locks next to the double locks to speed up flow and also to save water. That was always a big problem in the early days of the canals. While we're here, nothing to do with canals, but spotted a fisherman there. Just standing there, he may be just enjoying the sun. But yes, in some places like here you can see the channel is there but just not used as a lock. In other places like around Tring, Berkhamsted, further down the Grand Union, you can see a grassy area to one side of the lock, which was obviously intended for a lock, but there's no evidence of it ever being there, and the bridges related to it would have two arches already. I think they finally decided that the cost of maintaining the locks outweighed the value of having them, and so it was discontinued. I probably ought to check those facts properly, but I think that's all true. Well, this is it already, the bottom lock. Thanks to the volunteers, we've whizzed down here. And there's a rather cute little place. I don't know what it was originally. Looks like it's some kind of workshop on the side, but it's a sign you can't see because it's behind a hedge. It says it's 2.2 miles up to the top lock, so this is a long flight. There's the next lock there. One of the volunteers just told me, I asked them about these, you can see the concrete there covering over the water channel, and apparently this flight was originally built with single locks and they were converted to double locks barely 100 years ago, so very late on in the life of the canal. So all of these double locks, like this one I'm in, appeared apparently about 1930, and the single locks have been here before that and were discontinued. There's always an interesting story. It pays to keep your eyes open on the canal. You see things, and then when you look into it, there's a nice story behind it. But now we're nearly ready to say goodbye to these chaps who've been helping me out. They're busy now. Some of them have gone off already. They're helping another boat going up the flight. So I'll go ahead and do the Cape locks, as they're called, by the Cape of Good Hope pub on my own, because that's fine. Well, that's my day's travelling done. We got it all done by about 2:15. Arrived in Leamington Spa, and there's the boat. This is where I moor every time I come into Leamington Spa. The building behind is student accommodation, which you might think is a problem, but it's never been in the several times I've moored there. The bridge there takes you up onto a road where you can walk into the middle of town, and the building means there's quite a bit of open sky above the boat for the solar panels to do their work. And down here the canal carries on down there, and that's where I'm going now, because along here is a large Morrison's supermarket which actually has a laundrette on the outside. It's very handy, and it's all in all a very useful place to be. So I'll be here for a couple of days and get a few admin jobs done.